Mark, it's fair to say that the police presence in Bath has moved around quite a bit since leaving Manvers Street. Uh, is this going to be it?
Yes.
That's a short, sharp, and definite answer. What is this place going to offer that you haven't got already?
So it's going to bring together both the local neighbourhood teams, but also the patrol teams. Those are the people who answer the 999 calls, but also in addition, other things like some of the intelligence organisation, part of the CID organisation, and other aspects. I don't know all of the detail yet, but it will be an enhanced presence, and also part of the council in here as well. And I think they want us to have the CCTV control room in here. So we're working together with the council on that.
Getting something more permanent has been dear to your heart, hasn't it, for quite a while?
Well, it has. When I was a councillor, I didn't want them to close Manvers Street. I fought quite hard against that. And then when they did, worked very hard to try and get a new police station in Bath. Initially, it was at the one-stop shop in Manvers Street, but now this is where it's going to be.
Can you remind us why Manvers Street was closed? I mean, if it was a sort of downscaling of the operation, isn't this going full circle?
It is, and it was a reality of the time, and money was short, and they needed to generate additional money. So it was done for the right reasons at the time, but it was a short-term decision, and the implications were significant. We're having to reverse that, not only here but all over the place, like Yeovil and in Minehead as well.
What's the time scale?
So during this year, this calendar year, all the contracts will be put out to tender, all the architects' designs worked, because we're repurposing this building to make it a fit for the police. And then it will start, the work on it will start towards the end of this year and be ready for next year.
Is this a purchase or a lease?
It's a purchase.
Well, can we talk about the police precept?
Yes.
While we're getting onto the subject of money, I don't think everybody quite understands what a police precept is. I think you're asking for an additional £13 this year on council tax.
Yes. So the money for the force comes really in three slots. About 50% of the budget comes direct from central government. I have to go and work with the Home Secretary and the Minister.
Sorry about the bus, we'll just let them pass. We are very close to traffic lights. Sorry, Mark, do continue.
So the budget is made up of three parts. The first part is about 50%, and that comes from the central government grant, and that's the work that I have to do with the Home Secretary to persuade the Home Secretary to give us the money with the Secretary of the Treasury. The second part is about 41%, that comes from the precept, and then there's about 9% that comes from work that the police do and get paid for. So, for example, if there's a big football match and required public order, it could be a derby in Bristol, for example, then the FA pay the constabulary back for their fees. And during the time of the Queen's funeral, we sent a lot of police up to London to support the Met, and that was paid back to us. So that's about 9% of the budget.
That comes as part of a council tax increase that people will be facing this year. Now, is that money going to help you maintain the status quo, or is it going to pay for additional expenses like buying this place?
So that £13 specifically is going to, the additional £3 of the £13, because it was £10 and £3, is going to pay for proactive police teams locally. So there will be an enhancement, and some of those operations, for example, in Bristol, where they went after illegal motorbikes and scooters, those sorts of operations can be focused in Bath and elsewhere, but it could be about focusing on knife crime, for example, and making sure that we've got the intelligence, but also the intercept when it can happen. So the £3 is additional capability. The £10 pays for standing still. And sadly, we're still going to have to make savings and there will be some people, or there will be some jobs that we're going to need to get rid of, but it will slow up that process of getting rid of those jobs.
When we're talking about job losses, are we talking about frontline policemen and women?
We're not. We're talking about police staff. And there's a moratorium right now on getting rid of police because we're recruiting more and more police, as the government have asked us to. But in order to make the numbers work, including the additional precept of £13, we're still going to have to make some police staff, we're desperately trying not to make anybody redundant. We're going to repurpose them around the force, but also stop recruiting in some areas. Because the last thing I want to do is to recruit somebody and then make them redundant. That's just crazy waste of public money.
You singled out knife crime as one of the criminal activities police are facing, that society is facing at the moment. It is a sad reflection on society that you're having to install bleed units next to the defibrillators we're seeing around our communities. It's a real issue at the moment.
It is, and there's been a tragic death, another tragic death in Bristol, and my heart, as a dad, my heart goes out to the families and the friends and the school friends of the child that has been killed, senselessly killed by knife crime. And it's something that the police and I take incredibly seriously. And just to reassure the public that the police are doing a very large operation, I've asked the Chief Constable to look at every practical measure she can take to deal with it. But that's only one part. We're taking a public health approach, and the police are dealing with the symptom, but we need to get to the cause. And I have also asked to pull together all the different agencies. I want to bring academics in and psychologists in to focus on what the violence reduction partnerships, which are run by the councils, are doing. This is not about a blame culture. This is about trying to see, is this best practice from both the UK and also around the world? And then with the psychologists, get to the root cause of why these children are carrying knives, why they feel safer, when all the statistics and data shows if you carry a weapon, you're much more likely to be injured than if you don't. And why are these groups of boys, perhaps spurred on by the use of the internet and social media, brewing up an argument that then ends up in a meeting where they decide to fight each other, but with weapons? And we've got to understand it and try and put a stop to it. It's got to stop.
You're having various meetings around the area, I think, at the moment. I'm sure I've given publicity on Bath Museum to the fact that there are meetings. Parents, very important in all of this.
It is, absolutely. And I was down in Exeter yesterday with the PCC from Devon and Cornwall, Alison Hernandez. We were actually talking about the Prisoner Building Homes programme, which, as you probably know, I'm the chair of. And she was saying that in Exeter, they've worked a really good system where in every school, the parents are connected by a WhatsApp group. And when the parents are out in the evening or at night and see children out from the school, they WhatsApp it to the other parents so they can come in and collect them and take them home. But I would just say to parents, reassured that the police are out there on a fairly major operation at the moment, which will last approximately 2 weeks, but then carry on. But also have that conversation with your children. Check whether they've got knives and make sure that you know where your children are.
Mark, one final question before you get on with your day. We have an election for police commissioner coming up in May. Will you be standing for re-election?
Absolutely, I will, Richard.
Is it a job you've been enjoying?
I have loved every second of it. It's one of the best jobs I've ever done. And the reason is, I get up every morning surrounded by about 7,000 people who want to keep the public safe. They're driven by keeping the public safe. How fantastic is that?